Right then guys, it's PSL here, and I'm here for part 17 in my Jordan career mode here on Grand Prix Manager 2. Now, we've already done the first 3 races in this 1998 season. Now, if we look at the Drivers' Championship here with a breakdown of the race results. So, Mika Häkkinen won the first race of the season around Jerez, relatively unchallenged to be honest. Gerhard Berger won the second race of the season, the Brazilian Grand Prix, although he was very lucky to do so because that was a double Ferrari retirement. At the time that they retired, well, Katayama was leading when he retired, and I think Eddie Irvine was second because I think he retired a few laps after Katayama. Either way, they were retired within a few laps of each other and they were first and third, so that was 14 points lost for Ferrari. And then the third race of the season, the Argentine Grand Prix, Rubens Barrichello won, and Mika Häkkinen got a bit unlucky because he had an engine failure. So that would have been a Benetton 1-2, because, I mean, well, Häkkinen was leading the race by about a minute, but Benetton comprehensively trounced everyone at that race. Even Barrichello was miles ahead of our 2 drivers. So then, it's on to the situation with our drivers for both this season and next season. Now, there was the whole debacle with Jean Alesi. Well, I mean, as you can see, at the moment we've got Gerhard Berger and Olivier Panis. Next year we're going to have Gerhard Berger and Heinz-Harald Frentzen. That's set in stone. The thing is though, is the test driver role for both this season and next season was under massive debate because we could get Jean Alesi for next season, however we would need to get him now or hope that he's going to remain unemployed. Although, the comments, I'll be honest, I left it up to you guys to decide who I was going to have for my test driver for both this season and next season. And the comments were mixed. I had some people saying I should get Alesi, some people saying I shouldn't. The argument being made that having Alesi, Frentzen and Berger, all 3 of those drivers are good enough to deserve a race seat, which is a valid argument, but at the moment Heinz-Harald Frentzen is a test driver for Sauber, so logically, if Frentzen isn't good enough to be, isn't good enough, i.e. if Peter Sauber isn't going to make Frentzen a test driver and Sauber a midfield team, then why does Frentzen deserve to be a race driver for our team? Although having said that, Frentzen is, well, he's better than Brundle at Sauber. Damon Hill I'm not too sure, because Damon Hill massively underperforms. But anyway, yes, so we got Jean Alesi, who I could get. The most thumbed up comment was that I should get Jean Alesi now and alternate the second car between Panis and Alesi every race, and then maybe next season do the same thing with Frentzen. Which is, well, it is essentially putting all our eggs in one basket with the whole Gerhard Berger situation in terms of retaining the Drivers' Championship. I know I can afford to pay Jean Alesi, Gerhard Berger and Panis' salaries simultaneously. So because of that, I'm going to get Jean Alesi. Now, I know there was a paid driver who I could have gotten who is also French, but, I mean, people have said before that I should probably get a decent test driver just in case one of our drivers becomes ill or injured. Which is a valid argument, although driver injuries and illnesses are rare. So then I'm going to sign on the dotted line to get Jean Alesi for the next 29 races. And there we go. We've got Berger, Panis and Alesi. I will alternate between Panis and Alesi. I may as well. Well, I mean, yeah, we'll see how well Alesi does, to be perfectly honest. But as I said earlier on, there is genuinely no right answer in this, because I could save a lot of money by just keeping Panis and then Frentzen. But, I mean, what am I doing? Driver setup. That's what I want. Yeah, there is kind of no right or wrong answer, to be honest, with whether I should have got Alesi or not. But, as I said, I kind of want to get Alesi. The most liked comment was to get Alesi, although to alternate the 2 drivers, which I never considered. It's an interesting proposal. But yes, also the one good thing about having Heinz-Harald Frentzen next year is that he's German. And also we've got Jean Alesi, he's French. We've got a French driver and a German driver, which means that we can get either Renault engines or Mercedes engines. We've got complete choice. I mean, we can't get Ferrari engines, but the good thing about Renault engines is they're the best. Simply put, they're just the best engines in the game. However, the Mercedes engines are also very good, And the reason they're very good is because they're very light. Because as we can see, if we go on the car internals, yes, the minimum car weight, it got reduced. I think heading into the second season, the 1997 season, the minimum car weight got reduced, and now we're over 100 kilograms over the minimum car weight. So if we do get Mercedes engines, that's assuming that the minimum car weight doesn't change again. But if we do get Mercedes engines, then we will be closer to the minimum car weight, which is a good thing, because I've heard that in this game, you don't really want to go over 100 kilograms over the minimum car weight, which is what we're just about doing. Mercedes engines will firmly put us below that, again assuming that the minimum car weight doesn't change next season. But anyway, as I said, the point is now is that we've got Jean Alesi, we've got Panis, we've got Berger. I might alternate between Alesi and Panis between races. I certainly will do for this episode. We've basically eliminated any chance of Olivier Panis potentially winning the Drivers' Championship, but Berger was already ahead anyway, so we're going to put all our eggs in one basket with him. But anyway, yes, we're going to head to the next race, which is the European Grand Prix. And last year, this very Grand Prix was brilliant for us. We lapped Michael Schumacher in a Williams. We dominated everyone. Benetton weren't even particularly quick, to be honest, so hopefully last year's race can be replicated this year. Well then, practice has now become absolutely useless. At the start of the session, it was raining slightly. Then it dried up, and now look at it, the rain is torrential. So, we'll just bring both of our drivers in. That's the wrong button. We're going to bring both of our drivers in, put on some new tyres just in case it's dry for qualifying, because I know what this game's like. I mean, one thing I know for certain is that if you don't... Okay, no, the one thing I know for certain is that the tyres that you select are the tyres that they use in qualifying, assuming you don't use qualifying. If you just want to skip through qualifying, they'll just automatically use the tyres that you selected. So you have to select a new tyre set, basically. That's the point I'm trying to make, which is something I actually learnt during this series, during recording of this series. It was a few episodes back, but I remember that. We had a dreadful qualifying. It was last season, but it doesn't matter because we won both championships last season. But qualifying for the European Grand Prix, how's this going to go? Well, Gerhard Berger has dominated. Jean Alesi, though, he's a little bit rusty. He's down in 11th. And in fact, actually, Mark Goossens is in 11th in the Pacific. How on earth... wow. I noticed that 2 people were eliminated from qualifying due to the 107% rule. Blindly assumed it was both Simtex. That's not true. It's one of the Simtex, but the other driver who's been knocked out due to the 107% rule is Jacques Villeneuve in the McLaren. I mean, that's weird. It's almost like... Well, not really, but it's almost like Mark Goossens and Villeneuve swapped positions. Even then, but to be fair, credit to Mark Goossens, he's not the sole driver that would be getting knocked out in the 107% rule. But Villeneuve definitely isn't, because... So then, I've actually decided to do something different. As you can see, it's raining heading into this race. So, Berger, I'm going to stick on a 2-stop strategy, kind of on the assumption that it's not going to be wet for the entirety of the race, because it's rarely wet for the entire duration. Jean Alesi, I'm going to assume that it will be wet for the entire duration and thus try and do a 1-stop. I don't know, I've just got to do something different with Jean Alesi. It might be the right strategy, it might be the wrong strategy. Honestly, it just depends how the rain falls, and if it does fall for that matter. So, yes, so let's head on into the formation lap. Oh, it's torrential rain, look at that pit board. Lightning, lots of rain, everything. Formation lap though, who is going to stall? It won't be Jacques Villeneuve because he's not in the race, unbelievably. In fact, no one has stalled. But one thing I never mentioned in the qualifying summation is that if you look behind Berger, it's both Ferraris, then it's both... Is it both Benettons? Yes, it is. But here's the thing, then it's both Saubers. It's Damon Hill from Brundle, and they out-qualified Williams, with Johnny Herbert beating amazingly, Michael Schumacher. And let's not forget that Williams and Sauber are using the same engines. So, I think they're using Ford Zetec engines. Ford Zetec are. Well, there's lots of Ford engines because Minardi and Forti are also using Ford engines. And Pacific and Simtek, I think. But anyway, of the Ford Zetec R engine runners or whatever, Michael Schumacher, amazingly, is the slowest. And Damon Hill is the quickest. So then, the 1998 European Grand Prix around Nürburgring is underway. Once again, Gerhard Berger is leading from the front, from Katayama. In fact, actually, Ferrari, their second and third places were coming under pressure from both Benettons there, but it's still Berger from both Ferraris, from both Benettons. I believe both Saubers, though, amazingly, are still ahead of both Williams. So then, Gerhard Berger will be coming into the pits very shortly. Katayama hasn't pitted yet, but Katayama is, 8.2 seconds behind Gerhard Berger. The track's dried up slightly, or, well, maybe more accurately, it's not raining as heavily as it was at the start. So, some new wet tyres. I would love it to just be wet weather conditions until the end. That would make my life really easy. Anyway, 20 laps worth of fuel, new tyres, and yes, 9.7 second pit stop, and that means Berger is he's first, because I think Katayama, all of the others are now in the pits. And in fact, Simtek have just done their first Formula 1 pit stop. There you go. So that's the first for Simtek. Yeah, sure, Simtek, their driver, he's 2 laps down on Norberto Fontana in the Minardi, but still, they're in it to win it, and it's just got heavier rain once again, so I think Jean Alesi might do well out of this. It's difficult to say. I mean, he still is only in, he's in 9th now, but, well, I don't know. Jean Alesi, I looked at this car, the setup's fine, the driving aids are fine. I don't know whether it's because Jean Alesi hadn't raced in Formula 1 for a long time or what, but Alesi, his qualifying performance, well, it was pretty abysmal. Oh, Uko Katayama's retired. Right, and the track's drying. Oh, of course, there's going to be drama in these final few laps. Of course there is. Right, Uko Katayama has retired, I believe from 2nd place. The track's drying, but it's not dry. I mean, we could do, I tell you what, Jean Alesi, because Jean Alesi's not in a points place. Well, not quite, but he's in 7th. I remember the Hungarian Grand Prix in the first season of this career mode, where Jean Alesi, he snatched the race win from us because he either stayed out on wets when it was dry, or dries when it was wet, but either way, he was on the wrong tyres, and because of the 2-hour time limit, he won the race, and it was rubbish. And I think I might see if I can do the same sort of gamble with Jean Alesi here, because the track usually takes a while to dry up. Do you know what? I think I might just keep my drivers out for the remainder of the race because there's so few laps left to go. Yep, everyone is coming into the pits. I can only assume for dry tyres, but Gerhard Berger, he's 28 seconds ahead of Eddie Irvine in 2nd place. Irvine's only catching up at a rate of about 2 seconds a lap, and it's raining again. Right. So it was dry tyre conditions for a few laps. Either way, Gerhard Berger has won the 1998 European Grand Prix from Irvine from Häkkinen. Well, there may have been some drama with the weather, but realistically, apart from Jean Alesi, it didn't really change anything, because Jean Alesi made up a few places. But then again, to be fair, Jean Alesi in that race did quite well, because he made up some places, sure, from the last lap chaos, which didn't really change anything apart from promote Alesi a couple of places. Yes, and also the fact Jean Alesi, he did his one-stop strategy, which worked brilliantly. Yeah, so partly through the last lap chaos, partly through his one-stop strategy, and partly through a couple of overtakes Jean Alesi made, means that Jean Alesi did brilliantly well to finish in 5th, despite having qualified all the way down in 12th, and directly behind Mark Goossens in the Pacific. Speak of which, where is Mark Goossens? I'm not seeing him. 11th. Okay, he's in 11th. That took me a little while to spot. But anyway, yes, he's in 11th. Jean Alesi's in 5th. Gerhard Berger's 1. And, no! The Simtek driver! I still don't know how to pronounce his name. I'm going to say it's Chattarella. We'll go with that. But the Simtek driver, I thought, because Simtek, they had their first ever Formula 1 pit stop, they had their first ever Formula 1 race start, but unfortunately, they still haven't finished a Formula 1 race. I mean, sure, the Simtek driver, I think, last time I looked, he was 8 laps down on the leader, and about 6 laps down on the guy who was directly ahead of him. But still, he may have been 8 laps down on the leader, 6 laps down on Bertrand Gachot. It doesn't really matter though, because somehow he still fluked a half-decent qualifying lap, and he may have been dreadful in the race. Makes no difference really, because retiring in 14th and finishing in 14th doesn't really make any difference. I haven't done this for a little while, and that is spying around a team's factory. So we've gone to Enstone, to Benetton's factory, and they've got some quite decent parts here. They've got a decent steering system, well, a better steering system, cooling system, gearbox, and transmission than we've got. What about the externals? No, they haven't got anything better. What about driver aids? There's nothing we need because... Oh, Benetton, their active suspension system is only a level 4. Well, they're losing instantly. They're losing performance from that. Anyway, let's try and acquire something. Let's get... I don't actually know what we need, but a transmission is always good to get. Oh, right, so the security's too tight. Oh, sod it. We may as well. No, I don't want to give anything away to Benetton, that's the thing. What about... I think I know what's going to happen, but let's try taking their gearbox. There you go. I did this on purpose, just because I've never showed it before, but you can actually get caught snooping around another team's factory if, I think if you click too many things, and also if you repeatedly try and steal something when it says that the security's too tight. So I think we'll get fined $250,000 by the FIA. Oh, only $150,000. That was quite lenient by them. Very lenient. Anyway, well, that was a completely pointless exercise. But anyway, let's head over to Imola for the 1998 San Marino Grand Prix. Well, okay, this is something to get slightly worried about. Benetton, they're the quickest at the moment. This is only practice, but still. It's Hakkinen from Barrichello, from Panis, Irvine, Coulthard, Villeneuve, Berger. I mean, the thing that stands out to me most of all is that Panis is 9/10 of a second quicker than Berger. And Panis didn't even do the previous Grand Prix. I am slightly nervous, to be honest. I say that practice doesn't matter, but it's not a great sign. Right. Okay. Well, Benetton, they've taken the first 2 qualifying positions. Mika Hakkinen just about dipping below the 1:20s. Barrichello is just about the other side of it. Panis is over a second a lap slower than Hakkinen. And also, I mean, the thing that worries me more is the fact that Panis is the quicker driver. And there's no kind of consistent logic I can break it down to, because there is the argument of being... I mean, there is the argument of saying that, oh, well, Olivier Panis rested because he didn't do the previous Grand Prix. But then that throws the whole Jean Alesi is race rusty argument out of the window. Williams, they've picked themselves up, dusted themselves down, and they're ahead of Ferrari and Sauber. It's quite strange this season so far, because Benetton sometimes dominate, sometimes they don't. We are sometimes really quick, sometimes we're not. Ferrari quite often are up there, but then there's races like this where they're not. And it's a San Marino Grand Prix, and Ferrari aren't even up there. And then you can argue the same thing for Williams and Sauber, because sometimes Williams are quicker than Sauber, or vice versa. McLaren are pretty much the only really consistent team, or consistent top half team anyway. But then again, having said that, Villeneuve has gone from finishing in 21st and outside of the 107% rule, short and quite a strange qualifying session, to only 1 race later finishing in 11th. So then the 1998 San Marino Grand Prix is underway, and once again it's still both Benettons and both Jordans. However, no, it's not both Jordans, no it's not. It is both Benettons, from Panis in 3rd And there is someone in 4th. I can only assume it is. I thought so. Of course it is. It's Michael Schumacher. Right then, Mika Häkkinen's coming to the pits already. So that means Barrichello's now leading. Panis is in 2nd. Häkkinen, he came in very early. He might be doing a 3-stop strategy, which would be a blessed shame for him. Panis is now leading the Grand Prix thanks to Barrichello coming into the pits. That would be a shame for Häkkinen. Häkkinen's now behind Barrichello. Because Häkkinen, he was running off into the distance. He was about 2 seconds a lap quicker than Barrichello and Panis. But he pitted so early, he's now dropped behind the pair of them. I mean, you could argue that maybe the pace was there purely because he had such little fuel in this car, but still. Anyway, right, well, Berger's in the pits now. I think he was in 5th place. I don't think he made up any places, although it's difficult to really tell. Anyway, so yeah, that's Berger's pit stop. So Berger is in 6th. Actually, Damon, what happened to Michael Schumacher? Oh, and of course we are in this pit stop phase, in which things do get quite confusing, to be honest. But like Panis, he needs 21 laps more worth of fuel. I think he'll come back out in 3rd, but he might be closer to both Häkkinen and Barrichello. And the good thing now is that because Panis was almost as quick as Barrichello, however, neither Panis nor Barrichello could keep up with Häkkinen. So if Barrichello is ahead of Häkkinen, he's then holding up his teammate. So actually, Barrichello leading is brilliant for us, although Panis is still 32, now 34 seconds behind. Right, hang on, I think Barrichello... Yep, Barrichello's just done his pit stop, and is still leading the Grand Prix. Right, and I thought Häkkinen was by far and away, well, not only the quickest Benetton driver, but the quickest driver on the grid. But as it turns out, Barrichello somehow jumped Mika Häkkinen and is now leading the Grand Prix, fair and square. And there you go. So that means our drivers, we are 3rd and 4th. So Gerhard Berger somehow has jumped Michael Schumacher. And Häkkinen, he's in the pits and he's going to come out the pits still in 2nd place. So I think it's going to be both Benettons and both Jordans from Schumacher. Rubens Barrichello has just retired from the lead of the race. Oh no, Ukko Katayama's just retired. Okay, well that's promoted Eddie Irvine up into the points. Right, okay, well that was a dramatic race with some of the retirements. Häkkinen from Panis on Berger. Okay. Well, okay, in the Constructors' Championship, the battle between Benetton and Jordan, that's made no difference because we've both scored 10 points. I don't quite know how Schumacher... I can only assume that Schumacher pitted early and then Berger jumped Schumacher through that because Schumacher got held up in traffic. I don't know because I was too busy watching the Benettons and Panis, really. Damon Hill in 5th, Eddie Irvine 6th. Oh, some strange results there, to be honest. But, yeah, Mark Goossens in 12th. I tell you what, Pacifica, you know, are quite a solid team now because they're pretty much like Arrows. You know, they're the same sort of pace as Arrows. To be honest, at this rate of improvement, Pacific, they probably would win the championship in a season or two. But then again, well, to be fair, I know for a fact, I mean, if you saw the previous episode, in which I sort of briefly mentioned it during the bit when I was talking about Minardi, if I didn't do the races, if I literally just automatically skipped all of the sessions, Pacific would have a relatively decent chance of winning, which is ridiculous because, you know, logically Pacific shouldn't win, but yet if you skip the sessions, sometimes they do, but sometimes they don't. Who knows, it's a mystery. What is also a complete mystery is how Kelvin Burt was made so unwell that he will miss the next race. I don't know how that happened, but still, he's got some sort of illness. He will not be taking part in the next race. And there you go, a dominant win for Mika Häkkinen. Okay, just a quick update on the Drivers' Championship. Gerhard Berger is now only 1 point behind Mika Häkkinen. So it is close, actually. Barrichello's fading away. Panis, of course, inevitably is and will do considering he's only going to be doing half of the remaining races. Well, I might, again, you know, you guys be sure to leave that down in the comments over whether I should continue to do that, you know, the driver swaps. To be fair, I'm going to put Jean Alesi in the car for the Monaco Grand Prix, see what happens, but to be fair, to be perfectly honest, I think it's too late to try and make Panis into a Drivers' Championship winner. Well, I mean, it's still perfectly possible, but it's... yeah, I think it's a little bit too late. It's going to be tricky. Jean Alesi, there's no way he can do it. I mean, of course, again, theoretically, mathematically, it's easily possible, but it's just unlikely. We've put all our eggs in one basket with Gerhard Berger, and I think we're going to have to stick with that. Right then, this could be worrying. Jean Alesi's out, his tyre burst. Gerhard Berger was just about able to make it back into the pits in time. However, because you have to pre-select the sessions you're going to do before you head into the race weekend. I mean, basically, Jean Alesi's retired. I can't do anything with him. I can't change the tyres he's on or anything. But one thing I know is that in this game is that because if you do practice and then just try and skip qualifying, which is what I do, the game will automatically use the tyres that you were last on. Hence why with Gerhard Berger I've put him on some brand new tyres, just so he'll qualify in those tyres. But because I can't select new tyres for Jean Alesi, I don't know. I don't know whether the game will try and qualify him on some blown up tyres or what. But I genuinely think that Jean Alesi's had it. Well, we'll see. We'll see if he does qualify. But there's literally nothing I can do, which is a load of rubbish, to be perfectly honest. Yeah. Well, with that, what could I do? What could I do there? I knew that was going to happen, because I couldn't change the tyres he was on. And it's not like, I mean, I can't select that I'm going to do qualifying in anticipation that one of our cars is going to have a tyre blow up. Well, that's absolute rubbish. Anyway, qualifying for Monaco, it's both Ferraris from Barrichello, Berger, Herbert. The only good thing is that Mika Hakkinen is all the way down in 6th. But anyway, the 1998 Monaco Grand Prix is underway, and it looks like Gerhard Berger, he's lost a place off the start. It's, well, the race order, I think it's still Irvine from, it'll be Barrichello who's passed Katayama to take 2nd, and then someone's jumped Gerhard Berger. I can only assume it's Michael Schumacher again. No, it's Johnny Herbert. Fair play to Johnny Herbert, because he's done really well, considering he's in a worse car with, well, certainly a worse engine, and he's jumped, overtaken Gerhard Berger off the start here in Monaco. That's quite a big achievement. Hang on, how did Mika Hakkinen get into 4th? Right, Berger hasn't come into the, well, he's coming to the pits now, but Hakkinen must have passed Berger out on track, because Berger hadn't come into the pits, and there's no way he can come into the pits and gain time. So, Hakkinen's outraced Berger here, but to be honest, I'm kind of sick of this Grand Prix anyway, because I doubt Berger's going to score that many points. Hakkinen, at best, might score, well, he's going to score 1. How has this happened? Okay, so screw Mika Hakkinen being in 4th, he's now in 6th. Somehow he's passed Gerhard Berger. Barrichello is currently leading the Grand Prix. Irvine was leading it, but I think Irvine's coming to the pits either too many times or too early each time. I'm not quite sure, but Barrichello I think is going to win the Monaco Grand Prix unless he retires. But I mean, as I said, as I said earlier on, there hasn't been any Grand Prix where there's been a consistently quick team. Because Ferrari, they were on top form here, well in fact actually, Katayama's only in 5th. But I mean, you know, Ferrari, Eddie Irvine at the very least was on top form. In fact, I think Katayama had a decent qualifying. So yeah, Ferrari were quick at this Grand Prix, but they haven't been in previous ones. Hakkinen Katayama's retired again. He's getting the Ferrari number 2 driver luck, which is strange considering Uko Katayama beat Eddie Irvine in last year's championship. I mean, Katayama, he was... I don't know if he was the better driver, but he certainly seemed the better driver because Katayama, he got race wins. He outperformed Irvine when it mattered, whereas this season, I don't know whether Irvine's just got better or whether there's team orders coming into play, I don't know. I don't know, maybe Ferrari have given up on Katayama and they've turned all their attention, all their hopes towards Eddie Irvine. I don't know, but to be honest, it still hasn't really worked, as Rubens Barrichello is going to win the 1998 Monaco Grand Prix for Benetton. Eddie Irvine, he will take a pretty decent second place finish, but Johnny Herbert, driving for Williams, he's done brilliantly. He's beaten his teammate, he's beaten the likes of Gerhard Berger and Mika Hakkinen. Johnny Herbert, this Grand Prix, he did brilliantly and thoroughly deserves his podium finish. So considering it looked like for a long time that Eddie Irvine was going to win this Grand Prix, he hasn't. As I said, I'm not quite sure why. He either came into the pits one too many times, or he kept coming in too early, then was held up by traffic and lost time compared to Barrichello, because once Barrichello got into clean air, that was it, he was gone. He just was then able to utilise the Benetton pace, which somehow wasn't there in qualifying, but it was in the race. Who knows? But Williams, they've done brilliantly. They're 3rd and 4th. Not a great day though for the two main Drivers' Championship contenders, Hakkinen and Berger, who finished in 5th and 6th. Although having said that, I think with Rubens Barrichello winning today's Grand Prix, I think he might just about be leading the Drivers' Championship. And also a quick shout out to Ricardo Zonta for competing in his first ever Formula 1 race. Unfortunately for him, he retired in that 40. He spun off. Well, there you go, Ricardo Zonta. To be fair, making your Formula 1 debut at Monaco is going to be tricky. But to spin off, you know, when you're driving a 40, that's, it's not going to put you in the good light, let me put it that way. Yep, I thought so. Rubens Barrichello, he's currently leading the Drivers' Championship. Mika Hakkinen is only 2 points behind him in 2nd, and Gerhard Berger is only 2 points behind Hakkinen in 3rd. It really is a 3-horse race, to be honest, at the moment. Panis, we've kind of ruled out of it. Jean Alesi's never going to do it. And Ferrari just don't have the consistent pace, because sometimes Ferrari, they're up there with Jordan and Benetton, and sometimes they're the 4th or 5th quickest team. They're just... Some Grand Prix they're really quick and some they're not, but then again you can attribute that to Jordan and Benetton as well. The difference is though, is if Benetton aren't the quickest team, they're usually the 3rd quickest team, and it's the same with us as well. If Ferrari aren't the quickest team, they're usually only the 4th or 5th quickest, which is, you know, really their downfall, which is a shame for Eddie Irvine, because I would love to see Eddie Irvine win a Drivers' Championship, but I really just don't see it happening. And on to the Constructors' Championship, and wow, we're 20 points behind Benetton. That's noticeably more than a 1-2 finishes worth of points, 16 points, and we're 20 behind. I mean, the good thing for us is that we are 20 points ahead of Ferrari. To be honest, I'm still slightly surprised that Williams aren't ahead of Ferrari. Because Ferrari, well, as I said, Ferrari, they either... Well, Ferrari's strange. They're either really quick and then retire, or they're not that quick and then finish in 5th. But anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, be sure to leave a like, comment down below, and next time we're going to be starting off with the Spanish Grand Prix. Arguably the 2nd Spanish Grand Prix in this season. Anyway, it doesn't matter, it is the... I'm sure what a lot of people would consider to be the main Spanish Grand Prix, even though it is in Catalonia, because it is the Spanish Grand Prix around the Circuit de Catalunya. But anyway guys, yes, I will see you next time for that Grand Prix, along with probably 2 others. So I'll see you then.